Now from Capitol Hill is Republican Congressman Sean Duffy from Wisconsin. Congressman Duffy, thank you so much for being with us right now. I guess we're about 16 hours or so after that meeting at the White House. Republican leaders said they were going to go to the drawing board right there, work on the contours of a possible deal. I'm wondering if you can give us an update about what you are hearing this morning.
Well, what we're hearing is that we have a conversation going on. For the last 2 weeks during the course of the shutdown, there's been no conversation with the White House because the president had refused to negotiate, to engage in a dialogue. And last night, that conversation actually started. So I think we're off to a really good start with both sides sitting at the table, having a conversation. And as you mentioned, there's a conversation about the debt limit. But when you start to talk, we're also going to be including how we get the government open again and running. But maybe just to correct one thing you said on the way in, right now, House Republicans haven't asked to defund Obamacare. All we've asked for before the government shut down was that the president go into Obamacare. He joined Congress and the rest of America in Obamacare. And we wanted the same treatment for American families and individuals, just like the way they're treating big businesses.
Well, sir, there were three separate votes there. There was a vote you sent to the Senate, one that defunded Obamacare, the next that delayed Obamacare, the third one that delayed the individual mandate in Obamacare. So the final one you did, perhaps, was not for defunding Obamacare, but the House absolutely did at one point call for defunding Obamacare.
No, I know, but
as part of that process.
No, I know you're referencing one of the prior votes, so the most recent one, to be accurate, was only to make sure the president was in Obamacare and the administration was in Obamacare, and the individual mandate was delayed, just like the employers and big business mandate was delayed.
All right, let's talk. You talked about funding government, though, and one of the things reportedly that happened last night was that the congressmen in that room were supposed to go back to their offices and come up with what they would need to get from the president in order to reopen the government, to end the shutdown. What do you think those items are?
Well, first of all, I just laid out what our issues were in regard to opening the government back up. I think what we're going to do in our House conference is sit and have a family conversation, have a discussion, and we need to hear from everybody in our conference about what is the next place that we can go in regard to an offer to the president. But we also have to get some idea from the president that he's willing to actually say, okay, you guys have offered a total defund, you've offered a delay for a year, and now you've offered the fact that I should go into Obamacare. I think also the president has to make a proposal to us about where he'll come taking steps in our direction on how we make some kind of agreement. But in the House conference, we're going to sit and talk and have that family conversation.
You do think something involved with Obamacare, whether it being a delay of parts of the individual mandate, something in your mind has to be included in order to reopen the government?
Well, listen, I think minimally I want to see the president and the administration in Obamacare with the rest of America because, John, even look at the rollout of the exchanges. They haven't been going very well. And I think those who are responsible to make sure Obamacare is working and working well for the American people should also have the incentive that they're in that plan. Their families are in Obamacare as well, that they don't have a separate health care plan themselves. And I think if it's good for the American people, it's also good for the administration. So, I think that's a really important tenet for us, that everybody be treated equal under the law, and the president in Obamacare is one of those. We can have a discussion with the president in regard to the individual mandate. If he thinks that's going to have a huge impact on the success of Obamacare, I would be willing to hear him out on that. I don't think it will. I think to say we're going to tax people or penalize people because they don't get health insurance as prescribed by Obamacare when they can't even sign up on the websites, it seems to be a little bit unfair. So to ask for a year delay seems pretty reasonable on our part, and not in regard to the exchanges, but just in regard to the penalties if someone doesn't sign up for health care.
The White House has made pretty clear from the beginning here that they do not desire Obamacare, would not accept any aspect of Obamacare being involved in the discussion here. So it doesn't seem likely that the White House would agree to any part of that discussion. Last question to you, Congressman. Based on what's happened right now, we're 11 days into the shutdown, the debt ceiling looming just days away right now. Based on the contours of what the Republican Party seems to at least be willing to agree to on the debt ceiling, do you think this has all been worth it? Do you think the stand on Obamacare that was made more than 11 days ago, do you think that was worth it to shut down the government, to get the deal that you may be close to getting?
Yeah, listen, first of all, I think a government shutdown is never the right answer. I think you see in current polls, people are mad. And they're mad at Washington as a whole. I mean, they want to see their government work. They want to see people with different ideas actually sit down and work together to resolve their differences, just like we do in our families and our businesses. So I'm not happy with where we're at. I'm like the American people. I'm just as angry at Congress. But I do think as we look at the debt limit and raising it, America understands that we have a $17 trillion debt and that we're borrowing about $1 trillion every year. And I think if we're going to extend the credit card of the American government, we should also talk about how we reform the way we spend. And I think we can have that conversation. I think the president, whether we're going to go towards tax reform or entitlement reform, there's a lot of areas that we can find agreement, I think. And I'm hopeful that that's going to happen as we look forward to the negotiations.
I think a lot of people are hopeful that discussions are happening at some level. You mentioned that the American people are mad at everyone, and the polls do show they are mad at everyone. But this latest NBC News Wall Street Journal poll says they're mad at you, or at least Republicans, sir, more. By a margin of 22%, Americans blame Republicans in Congress more than the president for this shutdown. Is this something you think will have a lingering effect on the Republican Party?
Well, I think they're mad at everybody. I think everybody has been hit by this shutdown on government. And so, frankly, I join them. And I think if I talk to my colleagues in Congress, those who I meet in the halls, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, they join the American people. They, too, are angry at how ineffective the negotiations and the process has been here. So, listen, I think we all have to take a deep breath, work together, and get the government open, find a solution to reforming the way we spend and borrow, and increase the debt limit.
Congressman, I know you're a sports fan. Can you give me odds on when a deal might be struck on the debt ceiling and government shutdown? Do you think that could happen by the end of the weekend on either?
Yeah, listen, the most recent news I had, the negotiations are continuing. My hope is we might have some more news later on today or early tomorrow on some form of a structured deal on how we get this done.
That's news. Can you just give me a little more specific on that? The latest you're hearing is that it is moving along. There could be a vote later this afternoon, do you think?
No, not a vote. We're talking about actually the formation of a deal. So the conversations are continuing. My hope is potentially later today we could have some form of structured deal, or tomorrow on how we deal with the debt limit.
All right. Thank you for that information. Republican Congressman Sean Duffy of Wisconsin.
Thanks, John.
Thank you so much for being with us. Really great having you here. We'll be right back.
Thanks.